Welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. Today on Space Week, we'll be looking at Mars. Mars is named after the Roman god of war. His Greek name was Ares. The ancient Romans didn't believe that Mars was a planet or a star. They believed it was literally the god Mars. Mars is the only planet that is inhabited solely by robots. NASA sent the Opportunity rover robot on Mars in 2003. It was expected to last 3 months. It's still operational today. The Curiosity robot on Mars sings happy birthday to itself once a year. What a loser. Mars' diameter is 4,220 miles. That is a lot of chocolate. On Mars, the Opportunity robot has traveled a staggering 26 miles. On average, Mars is 142 million miles from the Sun. At its furthest, Mars is 155 million miles from Earth. At its closest, it's 34 million miles from Earth. The surface area is minus 55 degrees Celsius. The equator is the hottest part of Mars, reaching temperatures of 20 degrees Celsius. The poles have the coldest temperature on Mars, measuring minus 153 degrees Celsius. Although it's known as the Red Planet, Mars is actually butterscotch brown. If you have seen pictures of the red surface of Mars, they were originally black and white and they were colored in to look what astronomers believed the planet looked like. On the surface of Mars, the Sun seems to be about the same size as a pea. Mars is only half the size of Earth. One day on Mars lasts for 24 hours and 39 minutes. A year on Mars is 687 Earth days. Mars moves 20 miles per second. It takes 12.7 minutes for the Sun's light to reach Mars. Mars harbors a volcano called Olympus Mons. It is the biggest volcano and mountain in the solar system, measuring nearly 16 miles high. That makes it almost 3 times higher than Mount Everest. What's even more impressive is that it's 370 miles wide. That means Olympus Mons is slightly smaller than France. Every 5 years, the planet is blanketed by a dust storm that blocks out the sun for several months. Mars' most identifiable feature is Valles Marineris. It is a gigumongous crack on the planet's surface. It's 2,485 miles long, 124 miles wide, and 4 miles deep. That's 10 times longer and wider than the Grand Canyon. Mars has polar ice caps. However, when the ice is heated, it turns into gas, not liquid water. Mars has an atmosphere, but it's only 1% as thick as Earth's atmosphere, and it is mostly composed of carbon dioxide. Mars has storms similar to tornadoes called dust devils. As of December 2014, Mars has the most active spacecraft orbiting a planet besides Earth. They are Odyssey, Express, Reconnaissance, Maven, and Mangalyaan. Mars has 2 moons called Deimos and Phobos. Mars's moons are shaped like potatoes. Deimos is only 16 miles across. Phobos is merely 9 miles across. Because of Deimos and Phobos' odd shape, it's likely that they're not conventional moons and are simply asteroids that got dislodged from the nearby asteroid belt and got absorbed into Mars' gravity field. Phobos is a funny thing. You see, it rotates around Mars faster than the planet spins, meaning that it gradually gets closer and closer to the planet's surface. In a few million years, it will enter the planet's atmosphere and collide into the surface. There have been 43 unmanned missions to Mars. 21 of them have failed. Gravity on Mars is 38% as strong as Earth's. By a complete coincidence, the gravity on Mars and Mercury is exactly the same. And because of this low gravity, you could jump 3 times higher on Mars. By analysing Mars' recurring slope lineae, which is dark soil streaks running down slopes, NASA determined that they contain hydrated salts which are formed by water. This water could provide a habitat for microbial life. Pieces of Mars have fallen to Earth as meteorites. Ancient Egyptians called Mars Herdesher. This means the red one. Mars has seasons. The first space probe to take a picture of Mars' surface was the Mariner 4 in 1964. There is more than enough evidence to prove that Mars used to be covered in water. Probes have located countless dried up lakes and riverbeds and minerals that can only form in water. It probably even had oceans. So, where did it all go? Well, Mars had a magnetic field just like Earth. The most important word in that statement is had. For some reason, Mars' magnetic field shut down. This made the planet vulnerable to solar winds, which eroded the water away over billions of years. So if Mars definitely had water, did it have life, is the big question. The robots on the planet have found the minerals necessary to create life, but there's no evidence to verify that anything actually did live ever on Mars. The chemical that the robots found which can harbor life are called perchlorate. Ironically, they can harbor microscopic life, but it will make it impossible for human life to sustain itself on Mars. Which means that the only way for human beings to ever live on Mars is not to adapt to it, but to force it to adapt to us. So how do we do that? Well, the ability to cover an atmosphere so it suits our needs is called terraforming. The literal translation is earth shaping. This would involve altering Mars's atmosphere, soil, temperature, ecology, and topography to match a similar lifestyle to Earth. Mars One is a Dutch non-profit organization that intends to launch 4 astronauts on a one-way trip to Mars to establish a permanent human colony there by 2027. If the Mars One mission proves successful, 4 more colonists would arrive 2 years later.
Mars One has calculated that the communication between Earth and Mars would be 20 minutes.
A flight to Mars would take between 7 to 9 months. Mars One claims that they only need $6 billion to accomplish the mission. Not only does this number seem outrageously low, but many funders have pulled out. Some people are under the impression that NASA are funding this Mars trip. No, NASA has absolutely no belief whatsoever in the Mars One mission. Theoretical physicist Jared Hooft used to be an advisor for the Mars One mission. He quit when he realized that a crewed mission to Mars wouldn't happen for about 100 years. Even if Mars One landed on Mars and built a suit that could withstand the solar radiation of the planet, there's another huge problem. We get vitamin D from the sun. On Mars, the sun is so far away that the astronauts would have a permanent vitamin D deficiency. Since the gravity is lower on Mars, it would create an intracranial pressure in the human eyeball, which would be excruciating. So, Mars One, good luck on that mission. Personal thank you to these fine people for all their help. Thanks for watching, see you again.